Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and I gotta tell you, I'm very glad that this story came out today, and I'll explain why. So this story that I'm going to cover in this video, it's from Daily Hodl, and it's titled, Bitcoin Bull Anthony Pompliano Not Interested in Buying XRP, Here's Why. In crypto media the world over pretty much picked this up because Anthony Pompliano, if you've been around for a while, you know he's pretty well known in the world of crypto. He's co-founder of Morgan Creek Digital, which is pretty well known for last year having the first public pension fund publicly announce that they're actually investing in cryptocurrencies with Morgan Creek Digital. So that's institutional money, and so that is noteworthy. And so there were other crypto media outlets, like, for instance, here's a story from Bitcoin, it's on the same thing. Pompliano says he wouldn't buy XRP, but why am I glad that this is coming out today? Because I just got done making a video covering the news that Ripple has announced yet another new customer that will be using on-demand liquidity, which means we'll be using XRP as a bridge currency. The timing's just perfect from my perspective, so I'm going to tell you all about it. But before we go any further, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you know that Anthony Pompliano is wrong, or if you feel that he's incorrect in his position, that it doesn't make sense to buy XRP, go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel in a show of solidarity. No, I'll tell you what. Anthony Pompliano, I think that although I think he could not be more wrong in his stance here, to me he comes across as a very respectable individual, and just because somebody isn't pro-XRP, if they're being an adult about it and they hold a genuine opinion that's different than my own, it's not like I don't get all tribal about this stuff. I just think he's wrong. He thinks, I'm sure I'll never talk to him. I'm just a little old Moon Lambo here running a YouTube channel, but he would say that I'm wrong, and that's fine, and we can have gentlemen's disagreement, but I really think that the way that he's looking at it, and the way he's expecting the crypto landscape to unfold, this big piece of it he's got wrong, and not just XRP, because he's not just anti-XRP. He thinks that Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency that it makes sense to buy. He is absolutely a Bitcoin maximalist here. A nice enough dude, so I mean it's easy to like him. I could not disagree more. So let's go ahead and dive in here before I jibber jab any further here. Anthony Pompliano, Bitcoin bull and co-founder of cryptocurrency asset management firm Morgan Creek Digital, says he is not interested in buying XRP. In an interview on CNN's First Move, Pompliano tells anchor Julia Chatterley, by the way, she recently interviewed Brad Garlinghouse. Many of you know that, but in case you don't, she very recently did, which is why this came up. But Pompliano tells anchor Julia Chatterley that if he can't buy Bitcoin, he will probably buy digitized traditional assets instead. He points to the difference between Ripple, the company, and XRP, the token, as a key reason he's not investing in the third largest cryptocurrency by market cap. Now, to clarify, what he's talking about here by digitized traditional assets is he's talking about the tokenization of like stocks, for example, and it can happen with real estate as well. And so it's something that I've talked about on this channel from time to time. It's just this concept of us becoming an increasingly liquid world. Now, it doesn't make sense to tokenize everything. For example, I've cited in the past, I wouldn't tokenize my pet peeve, which is my 5-year-old terrier mix. That wouldn't make no damn sense. But there are certain things that it does make sense to tokenize for all sorts of reasons, including efficiency. So stocks, and then you can think about it, stocks not necessarily trading 24/7, are they? But you can buy and sell cryptocurrencies 24/7, 365. So that's something that's obvious. And so there are other pluses that come along with this, which I'm not going to get into outside the scope of this video. So I get that. That part's fine, but he's still a Bitcoin maxi. So check out what he had to say. Here's a quote. Ripple, the software company, is different than XRP, the token. And I think part of the problem is that retail investors have believed that by buying XRP, they have exposure to the financial performance of Ripple. And he says that's obviously not true. Okay, I gotta stop right there. Raise your hand if you're in the audience and you believe that because you purchased XRP, you have exposure to the financial performance of Ripple. Because that would mean that do you really think that you have any ownership in Ripple by buying XRP? Is there anybody out there that actually thinks that? Does Pomp believe, Anthony Pompliano, does he believe that people in the XRP community think that? I tell you what, the XRP community is among the most well-informed in all of crypto, and the asset that they're a fan of, XRP. And so to me, and being so aware of this and being in this for over 2 years and pretty in tune with the XRP community, to me it's just bizarre hearing this, but that's just, I suppose, because he's not in tune with the XRP community and doesn't understand the degree to which many are educated on the topic. And we're always seeking to learn more. I'm seeking to learn more. I don't pretend to know everything, but that's why this is such a fun journey. I learn from you. Hopefully you can learn some stuff from me, because I like sharing the information that I learn from other XRP community members, news sources, whatever it may be, from Ripple, whatever. And so that's just kind of part of the fun of the journey here. But man, Pomp is just missing the mark here. And then he says this: on top of that, what ends up happening is if Ripple is successful, that does not necessarily mean that XRP ends up being successful. Also, that means XRP could go up in value and Ripple could go out of business. Speculators could drive the price, etc. Well, part of that's right. Ripple could go out of business and XRP price could go up. Yeah, that could happen. Now, here's the thing, though. It is well known, this is no secret, XRP is at the core of Ripple's plan, and I don't think that there is any written or verbal plan with Ripple that it says whatever metrics they're tracking for success. I don't think there's anything written or verbal within Ripple that I've ever heard of, certainly, that would indicate success, their business plan being successful without XRP. So to me, that part of the comment didn't make any sense. And as far as speculators driving price, well, yeah, part of the point is that speculators are going to speculate. It's this interesting thing. We got past the chicken and the egg problem, which I'm not going to get into in this video. But now that the XRP ecosystem is working, it's functional, and it's thriving, part of the deal is that because people are speculating on exchanges, that increases liquidity. That liquidity can then be tapped into by on-demand liquidity partners, which means XRP, as a result, can be used as a bridge currency. Speculation is at the heart of this. So when he says speculators could drive the price, yeah, because they're buying and selling. That's kind of the point of this. That's what makes these transactions utilizing on-demand liquidity possible. Yeah, I think he's kind of missing that right there. And then he continues. Here's more from Anthony Pompliano. So when you get this disjointment between XRP and Ripple or other assets that have a similar mechanism, what ends up happening is I, as an investor, actually want to hold equity in the software company because there's profit, assets, revenues, etc. I don't want to own the asset that may or may not be there in the future and doesn't have any underlying utility or value driver that I can point to and say, I have confidence that's going to last. Bitcoin is different because it's backed by the most secure computing network in the world. Now, I know my audience, so this is an XRP-centric channel. Some of you are probably like yelling if you're listening in the car, or something like that, and probably like ripping your hair out because it's so nonsensical here. So look, let me talk about this part first. I think this is what I want to get. He writes, I don't want to own the asset that may or may not be there in the future and doesn't have any underlying utility or value driver that I can point to and say, I have confidence that's going to last. Okay, so here's one of the key points I'd like to make on this. To have that position, you have to be in complete denial of how people in the marketplace are currently behaving. The reason that XRP is where it is in terms of market cap is because there are a sufficient number of people recognizing and parsing out the differences between the cryptocurrencies that exist. And that is part of what is creating the opportunity for XRP to be used on on-demand liquidity as a bridge currency. And so when he's talking about it doesn't have any underlying utility, that's what makes the utility possible, first of all. And if I'm a speculator and I know that businesses need that to happen, I know that if I hold it, or at least that's the theory and that's why it's happening so far, that's why it's being traded and speculated, is because we know businesses need it. So what do you mean no utility? It's the only cryptocurrency actually being used in the commercial production of anything. So it's quite the opposite here. And so given that we know this is how humans are behaving today, for him to say that he doesn't want to hold the asset because it doesn't have any underlying utility or a value driver, that is flatly incorrect there. And I believe that he believes that. But I could not disagree more. He is so misguided in the way that he's looking at this. But again, he's coming at it from a Bitcoin maxi point of view, and I understand that. And so it's not just XRP that he'd say this type of thing about. He thinks it's just Bitcoin. Now, the reason this came up is because Julia Chatterley, she acknowledged during the interview, she said, the reason this came up is because the reason I'm talking about XRP is because I just recently interviewed Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. And so that's where it stemmed from here. But this is silly stuff. You talk about Bitcoin being the most secure computing network in the world. Well, let me tell you what. XRP, the XRP ledger, is more decentralized than Bitcoin. It's not possible to conduct a 51% attack against it. And even if the ledger is attacked, it's going to be very costly, and all you do is temporarily halt forward progression, which is good because I'd say if your network's under attack, it's better to not write history that is faulty. So the worst you're going to do is halt the network. So you want to talk about a secure computing network? I'd put XRP up against Bitcoin any day. This is a silly and unsophisticated point of view, and he's a sophisticated guy enough, like in terms of like his knowledge, like, he knows all sorts of stuff, and and that's the way I look at it. The world's like, there's always going to be somebody, even if you disagree with them, they know things that you don't know, and you know things they don't know. And I think that he could stand to learn a little bit more about the XRP ecosystem, and it would really behoove him, if I could use a fun word like behoove, to understand why XRP is where it is today in terms of market cap. Why are people willing to hear it? And if you just go on Twitter, look no further than Twitter. What are people always talking about? Why do they have confidence in holding it? Well, it has to do with the actual real-world utility. And again, this is just a complete denial here. Then the piece continues. Although he would purchase tokenized version of stocks, Pomp says he's not big on digital versions of fiat. And here's another quote from him. What Bitcoin competes with specifically is other currencies, and those currencies, even if they change their technology form factor, I think their monetary policy is bad. Bitcoin's monetary policy is superior. Well, is Bitcoin literally competing with other currencies when it's not being used as a currency? I think that one's up for debate there, but that's not as bad as what he said pertaining to XRP. It just, to me, it shows a complete lack of understanding of the XRP ecosystem and a complete lack of understanding of why individuals like myself are holding XRP. It's because I know businesses need it, and I understand that there are asymmetrical gains to be had potentially here. Nothing's guaranteed. This is a highly risky asset class to be investing in, period, whether in XRP or Bitcoin or whatever, and I totally understand that. It's very risky. But I'm willing to put in a certain amount that I'm willing to lose in case that I'm wrong here. But my gosh, from my perspective, XRP is here to stay, and that's certainly not financial advice, no financial background here, but damn. And so here you go. And then it wraps up by stating, Pompliano is known for his optimistic views on the future of Bitcoin and says he still has half of his net worth invested in Bitcoin. The other half of his holdings are cash and real estate. And so there you go. I still like the guy. I still think he's wrong, and he would say that I'm wrong, and super duper. But man, it would be fun to sit down and talk about these concepts with him, because has anybody ever pointed out that the stances he have fly in the face of what investors are actually doing today? Has anyone ever pointed that out to him? Does he actually just not see that? And to me, that's very strange. If you know a cryptocurrency has to be used, and it's getting used because there's real utility, and he's denying that, what do you think's going to happen long term if this trend continues? That's what instills confidence in large part. So, anyway, let me, before I wrap up the video, I want to give a shout out here to BAM. It's at boss_man_BAM, who wrote this. Just listening to Moon Lambo talk about XRP on a long road trip, hashtag XRP community. And there you can see there's a picture. Listen to the good old Moon Lambo, one of the videos I recently put out there. And so anyway, I just wanted to say thank you very much for your support and for listening. And for tagging me on this Twitter. I get a kick out of it. And I really do genuinely appreciate all the support that I receive. This is my most funnest hobby I've ever had here. And I love running this channel, talking about XRP and the XRP ecosystem on a daily basis. So I really get a kick out of it. And I couldn't be more flattered. Thank you so much, and shout out to you. But that is it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Lambo.